Let's take a look at absolute value equations. And I'll write the formula down. For absolute value equations. If you have the absolute value of something is equal to something else. Now the absolute value has to be by itself. Can't have any numbers in front of it, can't have any numbers after it, has to be by itself. Then you can drop the absolute value bars, and you set it equal to positive the other side, and you set it equal to negative the other side. So let's look at our first problem. Absolute value of 5x minus 2 equals 3. Well, the absolute value is by itself, so that fits our form perfectly. So we'll drop the absolute value bars, set it equal to positive the other side, and we'll set it equal to negative the other side. Now at this point you solve each one of these down separately, and they're linear equations. So here, I'll go ahead and do this first one. Take negative 2 over, and it becomes a positive 2. 3 plus 2 is 5, and then divide both sides by 5. Those 5 is going to cancel, and we end up with x equals 1. Now over here I'll take negative 2 over to the right side, and that gives us negative 3 plus 2, which gives us negative 1. And then I'll divide both sides by 5 again, and we get x is equal to negative 1/5. And those 5's canceled. And those are our answers. Got our next example. We got 4, and then the absolute value of 7x minus 1 equals 8. Now in this particular problem, the absolute value isn't by itself, so we have our first step is to get it by itself. So I'm going to divide both sides by 4. Like this. When I do that, 4's cancel. And we got the absolute value of 7x minus 1 equals, and 8 divided by 4 gives us 2. So now the absolute value is by itself, so we'll drop the absolute value bars, and we'll set it equal to positive the other side, and we'll drop the absolute value bars and set it equal to negative the other side. And these are linear equations, so I just follow my steps there. So here I'll take the negative 1 over, and it becomes a positive 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. And then divide both sides by 7. And these 7's cancel. And we get x is equal to 3 sevenths. Now in this one I'll take negative 1 over again. So I get negative 2 plus 1, which gives us negative 1. Divide both sides by 7. Sevens cancel. And you get x is equal to negative 1/7. And those would be our two answers. Let's look at our last example, absolute value equations. 9c. We got 5. The absolute value of 2x plus 3 minus 1 equals 9. Well, the absolute value isn't by itself, so I'm going to take this negative 1, move it to the right side. I'm going to take it over there, it becomes a positive 1. And 9 plus 1 gives us 10. And then I want to divide both sides by the number in front of our absolute value bar, which is 5. And when I do that, these 5's will cancel. And I got the absolute value of 2x plus 3 is equal to 10 divided by 5 is 2. Well, now that we have the absolute value by itself, we can drop the absolute value bars and set it equal to the positive the other side, and we'll set it equal to negative the other side. Here I'll take 3 and move it to the right side, so I get 2x is equal to 2 minus 3, or 2x is equal to negative 1. Divide both sides by 2. And those 2's going to cancel. And we get x is equal to negative 1/2. Now in this one I'll take the 3 over again, and it becomes a negative 3. Negative 2, negative 3 gives me a negative 5. And then divide both sides by 2. Those 2's cancel. And we end up with x equals negative 5/2. And those are our two answers.